at dinner with Sister Bonnie. And Sister Bonnie has a really cool story. And her story is this. Sister Bonnie was a nursing nun for 22 years, and a Franciscan nun who was serving the poor. After 22 years of being a nursing nun, that was taking a toll on her. So she said, I had a life-changing moment. I was fasting and praying, and the gospel according to Matthew came to mind. And the verse is, while you are fasting and praying, wash your face and comb your hair. That verse came to her in a little chapel in the hospital, and at that moment, what Sister Bonnie told us is she was called to become a licensed cosmetologist. I know. So she goes to school and she becomes a licensed cosmetologist, and her very first location to serve the poor by washing their face, combing their hair, shampooing their hair, and cutting their hair was in a little tiny bathroom in a homeless shelter in the most dangerous part of downtown Cincinnati. And the irony of that story is that when Sister Bonnie was a little girl, she grew up in Minnesota, and it was cold a lot of the year. And they had an outhouse. And she always would complain to her father when she had to go and use the outhouse in the bitter cold. And her father would say to her, kind of appeasingly, "Oh, Bonnie, don't worry, someday you'll get your bathroom." Bonnie got her bathroom. And then Bonnie was at a conference for cosmetologists. And she just happened to sit next to another leader, a guy who isn't just committed, but so radically involved in everything he does. His name is Fred Holzberger. And Fred is the founder of the Aveda Cosmetology Institute in Cincinnati, world-renowned. He has the exclusive distribution rights to Aveda products in 5 different states, has a lot of Aveda lifestyle stores, and he sits next to Sister Bonnie and just is called to know her story. He says, "Tell me your story." She tells him where she is, serving the poor in her little bathroom in Cincinnati. And he is so drawn to her story that you know what Fred Holzberger does? Is he takes her story to a Winnebago. He buys a 34-foot Winnebago, reconfigures the inside so it is a salon on wheels. And that salon, because of Sister Bonnie's inspiration, has traveled over 100,000 miles. It has served, it has shampooed, it has cut, it has washed the hair of over 6,000 homeless people. 15,000 licensed cosmetologists have dedicated their time, and all the products in it are all donated. One woman answered a calling. One guy noticed and created a ripple effect where 15,000 cosmetologists, 6,000 people are touched by people not just saying they're committed, but by people who say, "I'm getting in it. I'm rolling up my sleeves. I'm bringing my gifts." How do you know? How do you know? How do you notice? I think you notice by time. That one moment in time can absolutely change us. Here's a guy who changed the world. And you know, when his wife died, his sister, Marja, came to live with him to take care of all the household duties so that he could continue his life calling. And then, 15 years after coming to live with him to take care of him, she suffered a stroke and went into a coma. And when that happened, every single afternoon for 2 hours, Einstein would read aloud from Plato to his sister. She showed no signs of noticing. She showed no signs of knowing it at all. But you know, that's not what matters. What matters is that he did it. And he did it because she mattered. She mattered. Who around you matters? Who around you could benefit from your time, whether they acknowledge you or not? Herb Kelleher, who Kevin has been talking about, the founder, chairman emeritus of Southwest Airlines, he knows the value of his time. So he would take the busiest day in his industry and he would find the department, the team that was the craziest, the busiest, the most frustrated, you know, people that really didn't want him as a distraction there, you know, but he'd go. And he would go and he would spend time. And he'd roll up his sleeves and he never went to fix anything. He always went with a desire to feel. He wanted to feel what it was like in the call center. He wanted to know what it was like to lug bags and load them into the belly of the airplane when it was hailing and sleeting. He wanted to feel it for his people, and that showed his people how much he cared. And that gave him the opportunity to notice and to show him that he wasn't just committed. He was absolutely involved.